me de say oba me studio ha me so men confess say me wapo de mewia bebre pa mewia wapo intended here be my aponi be directly. Anyway, nanka me pese me kwa homa no so na me kotie ye nuanom bi e wo Nigeria and then so but imana won why yes adwuma we ache having worked with the UN UNDP yes Bakassi Peninsula nyina ko bi
yeah
Bakassi no na Cameroon in Nigeria honan
a part ICJ ruling 2001 redemarcating international boundaries, So UN in federals of that ruling, UN Office for West Africa, FIA, the EFA and Sahel. It could be a friend of Cameroon and Nigerian Mixed Commission.
Okay.
So UN Office for West Africa, second observers and are experts to SAR committee, and so yes, you're on the field, and then you move along the borders to see you're from displaced people and affected people. Yeah, so that is what we're doing. Yeah,
I see. Now, that's how this is. I could be Cameroon for home.
It depends on where you are talking about. Kakraba, Nigeria, but
do want to call Cameroon?
If Dodo means the volume of oil, yeah.
Because Nigeria for Nanyom.
Yeah.
Because I'm say oil na kwa kupi more na kupi Cameroon for home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, me Mr. Tell, well not tell, but Ocean Yakoso our Nigeria. Hunsun so. AU Akasa, ECOWAS Akasa, Commonwealth Akasa, Yaman Penin and Adoye, ECOWAS Penyakasa, US for Congressional Caucus Akasa. How do you see it? Eto saying.
Okay, me that say who share no Nigeria pa it depends on Angela Oshifi. Okay. Because me I from an Angela Obetrefi from Arab Spring to even the Elcos or Thailand and then to Nigeria. Okay. Although dominant factor me I can say some level of mistrust between particular segment of the population, particularly youth driven, yeah, and youth a male. Now in criminology, normally use criminology and as a criminologist, we share pictures now a very familiar picture. Youth, mostly male, means of mobilization here, social media, or more concerns against particular government from local to regional to national. And so early warning
until they fit a certain profile.
Yeah, the profile is one. But profile, no one is careful. I feel it's a profile near homogeneous. No one make a homogeneous for Uchimu, but there are elements of homogeneity in homogeneous, similarly homogeneous constituents. But what do you mean?
I said, so Obaka say homogeneous in Nina as a pepe. I said difference be in sunshine. That is more like a homogeneous but so can say Nina the same year be no mistake.
Yes, and in for cafe quiet quiet from each year at the back now so ben so in as much as say they are youth driven youth no more different constituents amongst them or more it's no yet kakra ewum but generally no yes ubon say template no one of it some level of mistrust depending on nipa na or no betimi aka say aware in for the youth no show some level of power against years of perceived oppression, real or perceived. There are so many factors that way to me associated with what is happening in Nigeria, but I think the element of mistrust, years of mistrust, one of the key cardinal points here. Most of the cardinal point with him.
Say Fapim. Cardinal, they say Bibia ni sipim. Ana me boy lawyer.
I mean, I do have my penny. You come on, okay.
For example, you share Nigeria. Also, my free prisoners be. Likely destination. Because be at your search Ghana so. Na we are Jume in Sunsanso the effects, ripple effects on the sub-region, especially West Africa. It's saying it's say I say Ghana na ubia any diet so and ubia hey. What do we do?
Yeah, me da say. Oh, say yanko back kakra about some yenhwe ECOWAS and ECOMOG ability to intervene in Liberia and Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
It was also possible partly because of Nigeria might and power, financial might, military might, Oditunu Kabuma, and then of course the context, support for Ghana from Ghana and Inoma. But those countries, no sure now the two countries, Sierra Leone, Liberia first, Sierra Leone, and this is Nigeria. If Nigeria sneezes, West Africa can catch COVID. And you're COVID. Because of this context, and I think, given the power of Nigeria, given the influence, the trajectory is clear, but the trajectory is clear. To me, in a particular way. You're careful na Nigeria call to say close to Biafra. Huge because of the number of weapons out, because of the situated geographical place of Nigeria. Physically, the countries are a bodomu. Your relationship, in particular with us and with Ghana, as you rightly said, even Ustopi planes are. I think Nigerians are like Ghanaians. Omunim illegal routes, they would come. Not only Nigerians, but your Ghanaians. Biswa Omwatla Nigeria, Omwa invest in Nigeria, more family for Nigeria, and yet only the financial investment. More infrastructures, or more the friend social capital. Most American social capital with you.
Yeah, Nanfo and conform nim baby Omoko.
That's right.
More than in Nigeria to a large extent. Yeah.
And not only say more Nigeria, but a bit more boyfie. So there Nigerians almost any remittances to Ghana, almost any some form of investment to Ghana. Your Ghanaians almost any to Ghana from Nigeria. Not because omuntumi embetra Ghana, but that is where my exactly wabonibra inti ohoto chima ohoye basabasa it is not only at the national level but also even at individual family levels. So for example, Kwame Sefakai, we ambassador of Ghana, and years of experience, ambassador here counts years of experience. It is true some more online, but constituency more in Ghana.
Yeah.
So you displace you also influence now over a lot of youth, over a lot of people. The gravitas of programs, watered down substantially.
Yeah.
Until you lose the currency. I hate to say what devalue in the new currency or for the country to develop. Then you become like a refugee. Sometimes me tear politicians they feel say if there's violence, told and untold. Say they can go outside the country and now and family back outside.
Yeah.
But it is one thing going to America, Britain when Ghana is safe. The respect, the respect are carry your confidence. Different. If the same person who come she now call her as refugee, they are two different things. The individual experience different.
Yeah.
But sometimes some of them don't know that. I'm not saying all politicians are bad, but I'm saying
those who fund all these things,
they should think and different. So by the same token, Nigeria your advantage be boom, which is as an analyst, I should put it out that there will be displacement of investment from Nigeria to Ghana. There will be displacement. Some of the multinationals, Ghana. Some of even Nigeria for now would want to invest in Ghana or encourage people to invest in Ghana. So you might benefit as a country, Kakra, but that is just a small part of the calculus. Okay. Because if majority of the people who are coming here are going to bring more burden, the strain on the economy will be bad. More so, you see, 19 83.
Mature,
I was about 13 or 14 years, you know. And I remember, say, Ghanaian phone buy from Nigeria, not in few Anto, the number to me
over 1 million Ghanaians.
Yes, and we couldn't handle it because apart from food drought and food insecurity, who was this population? The situation might be different, but we are an era of COVID. What Ghana are trying to handle the COVID?
Yeah,
I think so far, yeah. When you have people or muya or yechere be super spreading events. Super spreading here, no say American you but super spreading event no no bia Emma COVID no equity fast. Inti emfa ni say extreme during harmattan no upe matches I won't say a sheep faster than a rainy season because material are combustible.
Yeah.
Facilitative are ben. The same thing. One of it a luta. Inti senkrofoi eko oyechla yi na edum pempemfo bia. Ebi mu be asymptomatic. Omuba ha hopefully Africans we are developing some resilience. I hope so. But omuba ha na omuba developing symptoms no spready sickness na. I think say the strain on your health no and ultimately the economy no be very problematic. So two things apart from senipa no pon yare po na oba na u displace na what is the person coming to do? Obe add more stress to us and with the health come one. It becomes more challenging, but there is a way out. I think so. There is a way out. There is a way out.
What will be the way out?
Okay, so your short term and your long term.
Yeah.
One thing about or any demonstrations, generally, demonstrations need two type. Generally, a more complex. You are leaders, Your leaders no ever control some control over microphone or mobile no or no. Apart from that type of no depending on the context generally no many police for Asia into misunderstanding bo mintim ho ase wo ho sa inshemu first part no a first step of dialogue, a first step of preventing violence, a first step of understanding each other. Sa seemingly negligible encounter no brofuni adoson sa inshemu na oyeche from penimfoni plufoni hia ne eboama ebufuoni mintim ho ase bi mu sometimes no eba from. The second above from Sana, at least you can control the route when him leaders nobody me holding for accountable on no. The other one or amount for board dumping precope into unim leaders but sometimes when you're too clear because what happens for example amount for bet me started or say miempe bibi. But oyechani bar sometimes no the initial demand in SSA. The same with terrorism. Yeah. Sometimes what starts the terrorist activity and your one is sustaining but man for pinim are different into oyechani man for because okay in Nigeria almost see this band SARS.
Yeah.
But between time oyechani started and now obon say demand SSA. And a cost when if you address the bottom line, the first issue
as disband SARS
won't tackle some of the issues and now say the view of how to find lasting solution are different across generation and different people. So for example, uko baby to be Lagos now equivalent to be a low income community or more experience with SARS or more pain are different from Ubia Yemfan say or be a very plush neighborhood. But a bimu demand different. You have to sit down and analyze and feed the constituencies and also painstakingly understand omu demand air shifting and then you respond because one yes sir when government is responding around this time now usually like other situations your hardliners from the beginning let's use the military. Let them teach them where power lies. Those are the hardliners. and then your moderates on make us decide ye careful nkofo no kasa ye betumi a yemfa police ye ka police pa enye equivalent to SP wo Ghana ha ana ebia Buffalo those times ana ebia mobile police ye use ordinary police first and sanya ko riot then ebu make us see let's observe and see now around these times one ya moderates na hardliners no kasi yen use Bugatti Carifi type of approach now. Sometimes no effect lead to more violence.
Okay.
But you need to be a leader who say, okay, I need some level of force, but at this time you need moderates. Men can't see you approach from a position of weakness. You approach from a position of strength. But so when you're careful, because very often they're enticing. Oh, you use force, you use military. But that doesn't solve the problem. At best, problem no back from. But then the long-term effect, you're going back to some of the mistrust. Now, precipitate here. Some of problems now. No fire by and yes, I can.
The fire by.
No fire by. So in the short term, I think say for us as Ghana, no selfish kakra Ghana first. Without wanting to sound like anybody.
But don't worry, you're Ghanaian first and foremost. Since it's understandable.
Yeah. Okay. So I think as Ghanaians, one thing if you say this. That I'm very sure, without a shadow of doubt, Senkrofo must start initial mobilization. The youth, Omo Susu say that violent.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those almost start these days, youth need pure mobile phones. Ubetimi mobilize easily through social media. Ubetimi take pictures. Ubetimi share. And fan man na mobilize anchor, distract, any phenomenon. That is there. But I want to plead say yeah or yeah who say yes. Sometimes you need that. You need to demonstrate. Important in oversight. Important in asserting your influence. Important in holding government accountable. But here who say eto de bia in so I did ana bebia side demonstration no be fan e bia e be direction bia you didn't initially expect it to go. The second thing is say ubetumi control initially if you fully say there are people who are of a particular mindset into a mobilization, but as Oyeche call days and days other people will join with different intentions and different motives. Sometimes bunny for yes, but sometimes when an American your view of dealing with police mistrust might be different from Obiawo another place.
Yeah.
So what you might see as wrong and bad, somebody from another place name who as wrong and bad. So I'm very careful using those words. But you're also right in saying sometimes normally being grophobic me Eddie or how brain that is true. So I think for me the first thing to Ghana and the youth yes you bet me mobilize your concern I bet me articulate but you who said sometimes baby at the end and then ABI only a first thing. The other one use police. I think no matter how bad the police is, Ghana police, and may criticize Ghana police if they do the wrong thing. I think I have to, and I do it out of concern, and out of love, genuine love. The institution can be better. But no matter how bad the relationship is, I think you bet me up. Part strong. For example, a man for entrusty a particular unit, unit bidding because of experience on the road. But there are other units are man for no matter how bad it is, to me, I can say, okay, pet no mabia moya, ne pen no mabia moye, ne felese mo to me for coin for beboa. Police have had about 8 reports. Apart from 48 riots, your boys report, your Huppenbauer, your Tibiri report, your Archer report, your Kujeto report, and then short then also touches on police.
Yeah.
I think that some of 8 reports normally almost all the reports in the and I think that if what the police wants to do currently, reform from within, some of normal motion like reviewing their curriculum, building more trust and confidence, I think say to me yes lastly no around this time no I hope say it be a form police unit for FPU for any young police for no dealing with riot no or more strengthen how to deal with some type of riot, because sometimes apart from mistrust how you handle the demonstrations and our public event it to me affect how the violence would go or abate. I think that lastly, we can use social media and use the youth to reform so many things. Apart from police reform, and I think the broader reform of the criminal justice system, and the youth can play a critical role. And one role I feel say youth play oversight, and one oversight has to do with holding our security personnel accountable where they do the wrong thing and encouraging them. So I don't see why a policeman or woman should be afraid, or a military man should be afraid. So be video no. I don't see why you should be afraid. And I'll say that because unless it be a special operations, because if he sometimes usually two events. Okay, I say just before the COVID, I had a transcript of Manfamba. I think one brigadier general was saying a lot of misinformation within the social media, and that Ghanaians believe in God, and that we should be careful that we don't manipulate the system just to badmouth the military. If I know Brigadier General, I've forgotten the name, I had the transcript, and he appealed to your conscience using religion, and I think it was fantastic. But it's the same God or appeal to know if the same God now now whether the guy who was who died in Ashama, whether Sojaninu Bonitio and now a yampase na Ochim Sojaninu, it's the same God who is sitting on the same throne who is watching. Because sometimes you cannot 419 God. Don't mean 419 God. The same God now who appeal to know. I think that you should also remember that same God is watching other things we might not be there. Why am I saying that? Because mistrust started with little constituencies, and then started nationwide though. Particular segment bad experiences. Now we are catching with. Sometimes agencies will deny, but with social media, just one video by undermining the credibility. So we should be mindful of social media. We should be mindful in saying that the youth and social media can use to enhance your image as a country. The social media can help to build trust, because Onya say uka obi share too much ebufuo no edum pempensobia untumi nka no nhyebiom. And one way of making sure so build the trust that media among for bufu at least obetumi akasa the bufu no obetumi aka through social media, obetumi aka through ebia PFM, and hopefully mufa the agencies would listen. And I think such dialogues even if initially too smooth, I feel avenue in the long term in preventing some of the experiences now ewo Nigeria no.
Mimi say bibi bibi about responses. So far you say African Union, ECOWAS, Akasa, apart from ECOWAS Secretary Sankasa, Chairman of ECOWAS, President Akufo-Addo Akasa, other people of Akasa. Nebi Pache say at a point there seemed to be social media similar okay. Say President Akufo-Addo as Chairman of ECOWAS, Onkasantem. Ebisuka say a lot of backroom negotiations had to go on. We share responses and reactions from organizations. Say.
You mean I say National Peace Council, some time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in charge of research for a number of years for National Peace Council. Before I call UN.
Okay.
And before UN, Namu African Security Dialogue. In fact, I started our work with Kwefini, and the think tank was for Ebu Hatchfell. And so over the years, my ejuma with civil society, my ejuma Peace Council is autonomous government, government. My ejuma with UN, and me in in person, in particular, how my views put it me as depending on where I find myself.
Okay.
Now, my side example, you underscore the fact say, I told the beer civil society, send a civil society, every say a buying, every moving on. Sometimes a different from how a band would want to move for so many reasons. Think because say how sometimes international politics say juma men who be a civil society how do you say the individual states no don't see the individual civil societies no the states and the UN as ebia nintria omoko there be men who say when you say ebia omuyankofo omoko omoye tetis ewum tetis akokulunto ewum tetis wom ena cheetah ewum ena nintri ewum ena jata ewum into bomu say sometimes no the speed cheetah say the group enko different from the speed tetis the group enko when the ox wants to eat and where it wants to eat sometimes it might be different from the lion state response now one share from the perspective of the state sometimes no to me I unfair to the state and to the political leaders. On the other side, the political leaders, so someone say how civil society wants you to act, you might be unfair to civil society. Into the question, which angle you want to analyze the issue,
or where you're standing.
Because sometimes, maybe to me, I platform a platform you how a form like ground, but when you stand on the platform, a move it to the different constituencies. Sometimes a little advantage and disadvantage, but differently kakra than who just one perspective. However, I still believe say the call by civil society for action is right. The call by governments is right. The call by UN is right. Ultimately, the call by the Nigerian youth and people is right.
So how do we resolve this? Because if everybody is right, then how do we find common ground? So
you might be right in saying say you should dialogue. You might be wrong in saying say dialogue is not the right way. So it depending on what you are looking at. Because if say you were part among for a dialogue, and dialogue generally means say omunja or yechreno. I think the dialogue is important, but Oyeche important. So, and yet we contradict there be me chess and conform to dialogue.
Oyeche and your my you say baby and it has gone beyond just a demonstration. Abe nipewo nipekum nipe prepra yeshi amanfo ejapade enti is gone beyond an ordinary demonstration. So, baby, what do we do?
Yes, it's gone beyond ordinary demonstration. It depends what you mean by ordinary, and it depends on what you mean by demonstration. Because demonstrations to me are violent.
Yeah.
So you're violent into a violent demonstration.
Starting off as an ordinary peaceful demonstration. So who follow Sasayina na Amopache say special anti-armed robbery squad Sasno. Na if you do nipa. Be quietly near there. Until they were actually calling, said they should disband it. Yen free home. Abani ye tintin kakra nefe. At the end start here. Ye bobo bonkrofoka ye shishin krofoka. And police when soldier for subem. Ombe mama started bubutio. Anefe adieno a jinsam. So, buttressing your point of how it may start at a certain point. Now, what I was starting on, be a wouldn't baby at any book I could do. And I say, so I swear the baby, ye be a yen shanquaning. Baby, ye dream. Yeah, you're gonna have baby through. Because, as you said, even though say I 2 borders, Nigeria for 2 million number. Or dispute free on Pomeba. Where do we go from here? At the end, you beat me. Or more release prisoners. Some prisoners, SARS for been a tribute for armed robbery, murder, what have you. What do we do? And beyond the rhetoric, beyond Kassan,
yes, I think that if you assemble, you don't use cutlass. So if yes, But I think say for Ghana, you first. I don't know why I'm intuitively becoming selfish.
Because you are Ghanaian.
But I think say in a part of Nigeria, back to Nigeria, in some a long term, and yes, say, sorry, I never no. No man I bet take it time, but take it more than 10 years to build some level of trust between ABA, ordinary Nigeria, and some state. Part of state apparatus, no, if I say police and military, I bet take it time, only a long term. But I think that in many you need a very big second track diplomacy. Make sure and make her say sometimes no leaders na start no. Omu nimdi omokitano enye sa nimdi na a movie group no fefia. That's the first thing. The other one is a man who say oye chenu ye different places. Omu ni central command to say a Ghana Armed Forces and Nigeria Armed Forces are more central one command. Into omu different areas. Omu understanding of omu paying your demands. What is Ghana here? Into Nigeria poor. Obetresu or yechere no obetumi mapping no out. Na won say or yechere no are concentrated bia 80% most of the time no more gather specific places. Gradually no won say take form in terms of bimu yomu as the leaders. And I think that when you find the leaders now ebetumi aboa. The other thing I think say ebetumi short term no just appealing to the individuals, and there are individuals who are more influence. For example, yen yuzu Kwame Sefakan ana yen yuzu Onabolowa and yen yuzu bia Pastor Mensa Otabel Miami General Overseer ana yen yuzu Archbishop Duncan Williams ana bia Chief Imam obia o constituency bi obetimi a control to an extent. And I think say thankrofo no utimi identify omo a obetimi start a gradual process.
So you use them as a focal point to.
Yes, I think so decentralize the dialogue approach now. A bossing centralized, because repeating myself, no, I don't think some more central command. A very painful and gradual process. The other thing, my concern for it's you. Nigeria has a lot of weapons, and almost she play FIFA. So far, I mean, who to say Libya? I'm more attacking big armory, magazines. I'm more easy rifles, rifles, ammunitions. But it's your new cost system no more. It's me hard because Bakasi for no maybe their idea may be different, but then the carapace of chaos. But Musa Bekara sa basa ya efi no ebimu ewo different motiva omu bro omu twen manage pempen so bi omu de ejapi begum. And I think for now no they should decentralize the dialogue process. I think for me that is one of the strength. And also state response moderates no ye more platform kakra, because her hardliners no person mo use bugedi kirifi type of approach now baby ebefa no enye to Ghana. I always want to come back to my motherland. Sure,
but this is where you belong. Your umbilical cord is in the earth.
Yeah. And under the earth and in the air.
Yeah.
You see, although because of my friends in Nigeria, I have some good Nigerian friends. So I think, for now, no, we should study at different levels. One, police civil relationship. Police legitimacy. That is one of my area, criminal justice system and police legitimacy. Now, police legitimacy, basically in criminology, you as the way a police treat ordinary people at different levels. So one of the key issues is dignity and respect.
Yeah,
you treat people with dignity and respect, even if the person are from poor. Obama, the person the opportunity to express themselves.
And then the mass protest start here. So there was no dignity and respect here.
Very important, and dignity and respect. A core part of legitimacy. Now, one share, Madam Fuloya, or he might not think that way, or he might. They might think, legitimacy, only when you find it in the books. Maybe at the constitution, but in criminology of a particular orientation, maybe belonging to legitimacy, viewed. Books are necessary but not sufficient. Okay, so the extent to which you treat people with dignity and respect, the ethical decision-making processes of the police, the way they respond to different constituencies. Very important. In the short term, sometimes, before say any impact, but cumulatively, it build a particular image. Into every encounter that a police will have with a civilian, a friend with teaching moments.
Okay.
There was Scholar Bia offering teaching moments, because those are the moments about me I explaining normal, using respect, using dignity, appreciating the person, even if the person are from Umbrano. And research has shown, say, treating the person with dignity and respect, now punishing the poor, he or she is willing to accept the punishment because of the processor. So, in criminology, be procedural justice and distributive justice, but only more complicated. But generally, dignity and respect. And I think, say, no matter how bad the Ghanaian situation is, no matter how bad the Ghana police is, no matter how bad Ghana police thinks maybe some civilians are, I think that no matter how bad the military might think that civilians are dozing and they are weak, I think that as a country, we should cherish some of the things that we have. We should cherish it, and I think so. One of my concluding remarks, and coming to the elections, I think say we should cherish our country. I'm not saying say my youth no your chere, but chere no who say, repeating myself, what sometimes will start the demonstration, and yet that na ended the demonstration, because you're careful. We start with a good idea, but when you join, particularly when you don't know the leaders, particularly when there are people waiting now on take advantage. On the other side, we should also give the youth some room to also share their concern, no matter how bad it is. Yempe coin before more space to criticize or use social media within acceptable confines, although that is disputable. More room be to do what in security sector reform we call oversight, and I think say if we do that, it will help.
One are security, intelligence, analyst, research, and all of that. Maybe this is my very final question on this matter.
Ask more, don't worry.
Yeah. Well, say I'm assuming have my time in Tina. Ninse ya aduma ku be video person be MPP politics, but no crime man no crime be bresa. But let me ask you this: Nigeria has a very fluid security situation. On mobile mohon semno, na titru because of Boko Haram. Na amanfo ehuni papa. Mona momo ye adwuma ma ne kwa kire wasane memu. The role of Boko Haram, likely or unlikely role, is something I can say. You are oh yeah chere. Wunnim adwea e won krofo bi trim omode ye. Earlier so ka so bi wo ho a or adwin bi on trim dada but we din no he. Or ha e bi edru ba bia or the no be rem escalating it to a different angle. This Boko Haram and insecurity in Nigeria, you one. Two, which is my final question. Arab Spring is starting, say if you are say Tunisia.
Correct.
But there seemed to be a spillover. Egypt. I think Algeria and Yakakra. Now, Niakosu Nigeria, could there be a spillover in your estimation?
Spillover to where?
Neighboring countries.
Okay, so copycat. You're talking about the copycat.
Okay.
Yes, a bit Miffy. Oh, yes, a bit Miffy. Especially, I think West Africa been about 6 elections or thereabouts. Particularly when Ouattara used to go to exactly Ouattara, Côte d'Ivoire, they're being.
Yeah.
In the amount for bit me, use what they see elsewhere, because our copycat in criminology, one idea, 18 months for a committee. Copycat.
Yeah.
Can it spill over to other places? Yes, it can. Under what circumstances never spill it? Sometimes in Penifo can send them say asem kefi about Franca insisu. Sometimes a bit me start to be something about for say negligible, but say buffon wo hot the now nya mobilizers are a bit me spill it. The other thing, a government response, very critical, very critical, especially within government, dealing with the hardliners and then the moderates, knowing how as a leader, you control the the hardline voice, the dominant hardliners, and then giving a voice to the dominant moderates. So balance within the echelons of government. Say we a leader now handle new year. Do be you will regret it. Am I saying force any role to play? Force is very important. Force at a point, but you can use the force, in combination with dialogue. I'm for say either or. There be any either or. You can negotiate from the position of strength, and strength doesn't always mean military strength. It can be strength in terms of appealing to people's conscience. Strength comes in different ways, and I think you share strength and power from only the military or hardliner, you will lose a point, because dialogue in itself is strength. Accepting say why a mistake as a leader is strength. Accepting say ube loses some of your ABR reputation, quote and unquote, strength and your weakness. Among for feeling say police need to you. Let me end on this note. I saw a clip somewhere. Police need, I think they Medina or somewhere. Omuko enforce, I think a court that be. And obi pushy police need to talk from. I don't know whether you saw that video. Inspector B.
I'm not too sure.
Oh yeah, the guy was armed. The person pushing no more auto from, and I think it was a chief inspector. The guy didn't shoot the guy. Military near by virtue of you don't use military for police. So they are different. The policeman didn't shoot at the guy, and that for me was a mark of strength, a mark of professionalism. So you provoke kill, but you didn't use the weapon. I think that some of those things, strength. Why am I giving that example? To show say sometimes, as a country, as individual, as leaders, you strength in sometimes quite creative ways. You're sensitive to changing times, i.e. the youth we have, the social media. You're making room for their understanding of what governance is, their involvement in governance within acceptable boundaries. And I think you involve your more. Of course, the adults, the aged also have a role to play, and I think you different constituencies now you room for discussion, dialogue, criticism, sir. Ultimately also realize and say, I'm being selfish this morning, always talking about Ghana first.
Well, welcome to Ghana.
But I think we should always know Ghana among for nanka. I'll still criticize if I have to, but I think no matter who can wo hall, who can wo bedroom, and the pie makan hall bedroom so
and so bedroom. But obedi message be about a clear to pim into to a say the cause of the protesters may be just. They may be well intentioned, but they have to be careful it doesn't get out of control. If it does, it will lead to long-lasting dire consequences, which even those who initiated the process in the first place would regret. That's Soate's conclusion also. He says the protesters must know that just as there are bad guys among the police, there are also thugs in the midst of the protesters. Then she comes to this one. Today, Libya lies in ruins. Libya lies in ruins. Its destruction began with the Arab Spring demonstrations. Truth be told, Gaddafi had long overstayed his welcome. But I doubt that those who started the protests to prefer the Libya they have today. Exactly what you are admonishing, sir. You never know. This one says COVID couldn't kill Africans like the way insecurity matters are gradually claiming lives. When will Africans learn to be tolerant? We're a different breed.
They can't say a different breed now.
No, they can't say we're a different breed. Are people saying there's no behind-the-scenes engagement by ECOWAS leadership and Nigerians on the brutalities? And to think that just a tweet or message of condemnation from President Akufo-Addo would have ended this barbaric incident? Honestly, we would have been in lockdown had the president heeded the same rants on social media during the COVID-19 upsurge. #EndSARS. Kwesi Reynolds, Agona or Bing sent that one. Anyway, say it to me, Pong.
Anne.
Yeah, Adabaka, Bubaka Bibiaka Wana. Yeah.
And then come home, I see the minion.
Yeah. But anyway, Mebo, Raswati,
Fine.
Obi the message be about home. Education, the role of an educated populace. It me change dynamics no. Nature Okasa and say when he says Zimbabwe, there was an uprising. But there wasn't that much bloodshed and destruction. But Mugabe left. But I see, I doff my heart for those who stood up in Zimbabwe. The difference between an educated people in an uprising and that of not fully educated people. Niger people should use their heads. Does education play a role?
It depends on what you are looking at, and it depends on what you define as education. Because sometimes, Western educated for by default, have some arrogance and think, the Western form of education is the best form of skill that anybody can have, or no advantage. But if you want to put that argument into historical perspective, and yet that's simple. In other words, monocausal explanations are usually weak. To me, you do just one. So many factors, but in certain contexts, education in certain contexts, among who are educated and they are the leaders of the violence, they fund the violence, they hide behind and stoke the violence, and assemble educated ones because everyone's a corruption. If you take the amount of sika among in any country, the educated ones more spectacularly than the liberal. And corruption can lead to violence. It is a violence no start here, depending on the context. Because it's the illiterates, but they are terrorists who have PhDs, who have masters. Of course, let me add a footnote. Because one man's terrorist or woman's terrorist,
it's another man's freedom fighter.
But you find say your consensus who a terrorist is. Yeah, some of them are highly educated. The other thing, there's a book, I think, War, Hunger and Displacement, Oxford, they publish here, that shows say even in countries equal war, at the time I know more going into internal civil type of war. Now the economy was developing, the economy was progressing. It wasn't plummeting. It was clear. Figures now. It was going up. They were developing, but still they ended in violence. So about the fact, I want to interrogate some of the underlying factors, like maybe injustice, seclusion, availability of weapons.
It's a ball of suja.
Fantastic.
It's a ball of suja.
Fantastic.
And I just I can lawyer. Ball of suja. Now who say then I'll be Uga mapon mini so ati na nebon komo.
Oh Kwame.
Mapon.
Kwame mpon.
Mapon mi time so.
Mami si ma be se.
Me so ati say 8 mi pon.
Kwame mami che.
Me no komo no.
Mo komo di.
Okay, I thought you were driving me into
no, I will not drive you there. I wanted you here specifically because na say here Nigeria near the me sure say things will still come up.
Yeah, but you have an interesting point about Boko Haram and how a country has to contend. The difficulty in dealing with multiple conflicts or armed violence of particular kind. Say, Nanya situation in a country like Abia, because country like Exa, maybe all their troops never peacekeeping would have to come back home. And peacekeeping is also financial support operations, so and so on. But I think fighting Boko Haram, dealing with Bakasi and dealing with all the challenges that Nigeria wanna, I think I think ultimately it is in the direct interest of Ghana to make sure Nigeria be stable and prosperous. Of course, making sure some prosperity a better through Ghana and end in Ghana. I'm being selfish now.
Yeah, to our Jimmy so Emmanuel Sowate Institute of Criminology, University of Cambridge. Anope ena yeneno atwetwe nkomo kakra na oni UNDP na ejuma na semuni mabada Bakassi Peninsula ho ntokwa na oye ejuma enso eho na oso baka de lawyer
yo mi da se Kwame em say dumedia Yura Emmanuel Soati ene Yura Fred ebeka o covet ho no eye niema mebre na asumdwe de o ma bia so ehia enti smo de beguna kwamu efa asumdwe ho no eye titru pa ne se eye medese o mampani a otie adwa so o ma imu no wono ana bibire mato ya so no wo ye adwam training eda no emra na me no obi di nkomo emra me nua okudi to debate na president nkasa na me say papa no said obi anim say no city a when it comes to diplomacy any international relations on the likes any Philip Behunom former NDC foreign minister
Victor
Behunom any Obeda Samwanom na Kufuadum kasaba sabasao and I went to the extent of saying say me gidie ye said papa ne nyuma no e bia quietly no wakasa e dia kire eyi ampa ewianum ebedadi ni amesre menuanom titru samenom okuditonom say a lot of diplomats e wa ha say it say Yura Kufuado oye excellent eyi so anu ampo amfa ye na politics intra Yura Obeda Samwanom ho empani first omon kasaba sabasao and today's politics the youth we are in a haste to be heard ba Kwame enye ba bia na ebie ya no tentem sao. So excellently, the president Nana Danko Kufuado is working on that. Eba omaimu asumdue so a. Kwamna and this year a report.
Kwame me din say.
Nasa Kwame o mafia me to anofe.
Na maka.
Na Kwame on. Eba asumdue wo omaimu a. Yankase bibia wie peye. Yewra so atete say empo America kromo the best kra no security wo mutimi claim perfection but so far baby another Kufuado beji ye ne baby odia bedro no so far so good at least ye ni mo hwe kra no dagon ye beto abamfie nan sei no na wasumdwe yasem and another Kufuado nyame nam ne so ye ni mo hwe kra no ye beto abamfie nan sei no na Africa has said in terms of security and peace near to 6 and near to 3 all the West Africa ha ye number 1 na enyese all these things came in a vacuum. So we had near man not done Kufuado 1 year with security service now unprecedented. So we had yes police ready Kenya helicopters 3
me say mapono
me can't just so security no Kwame
because in command me dey different kra
oh Kwame say security now of you so do na adwene enti Kwame me bo for ho no mo a ni American say Kwame security nsem no ye da ye na emom no so no afutuo kakra mesre wa manyofo a ye ka nyina no ye raso atedi hu adanse say ye no mu nsem. So adia no wonte ma biase a we should stop discrediting the state institutions and na sana Arab yikosi ye and na sana Egypt kosi ye o yes sana directly or indirectly no you are selling something I'm a youth no be take advantage and it's not the best ye ka nyina no aposifo wo madwuma o mampani ote so e wadwuma opposition so e wadwuma bakwa mi ntokwa bia so ni wono mo a emfri nipa dwunum ene ne kasa em na eba mi ranya sana tie so we should be measured especially since you are kunyano so da enye se chichira de mi painting no directly or indirectly no may instigate amanfo amoma yibi nia esi Nigeria no eye adefia kese e de ma ye mabu no ayenso ye wa sei no sabi enye kura no at least o mampani bi ba ya nano a teacher for mu school trafi bi o mampani bi ba ye nano nurse for mu school trafi bi o mampani bi ba ye nano graduate unemployment na ye ti fa ye no e de nyamia da Roma and necessary am no
kase. Because my point, me production for say man
Kwame na say me nua no ngongo Kwame enti Kwame dem pesa meka e me atiase ni say so far so good na Kwame smith me tran kasa obra number 1 position a MPP koto ye no ye ntimi nka ho asem bi Kwame
mokotoye
o say
o se mokotoye
ye koto so no sana meka menka se ko ye dan yakoto
sana o kan yo
no ye electoral commission na ni adi wo ye djuma Kwame krate kutami English idioms no e chambers na tray say ye ka A1 Kwame o say A1 that is of the highest quality. Very good. So here Oxford idioms of dictionary of idioms. Or say A1 means excellent. Kwame, number 1 na ye koto ye no. Ejuma
what's akasa mo koto ye?
Baby ye koto place.
So what you want it?
I want to koto ye. Yes, Kwame. I want to koto ye no. And I repeat, I want to koto ye no. And no, it connotes you say, ya ban fiena ya betra basenya dum somu. And then ya dum, ya free dum somu. And fiena say ya near betra bano. Na school fees in 20 hour pogu. Nan kokrebi or no more depression tomogu. And then ya dum school fees in tino. And yamako ye. And fiena say, na dum so and you may go yeno. Na kufa to buy under one district, one factory no. We'll put you on through Brownfield. I'm a new one through Greenfield no. Oh yeah. Number 1 excellent. Kwame dia tosum yenu so say si akọ Olympics game ne akọ ball wie anako etu bibia wie Kwame embre bia ne the gold no ye the man number 1 and am for so kasa what is written and into no coming events forecast their shadow adia no aba no ya to awie ya boba wie
ya ntu ye mubon wie
yo Kwame wada Roma na mum se na no kwasi ada no ye wura kufu adu be gina ho na respect kukura no share no ye fellow Ghanaians no utimi so osoro adware no ewo nwuma papa no aye e free ya nwuma sua ye na pamu den ye nku adwuma ye bibie mu enti ade no ensesa ye bie ni wono mu Kwame e betimi di aba na mbom no number 1 no so ekoto ye ni nkrofo number 2 obeto ye ni nyame boy ye nkoko se MPP shouldn't be complacent anas ye mietri mu nyi ye de e kire number 2 no chese the war pam wonu nya America to a wo so so njai home ye nyina ye mfa nka bomu na various constituencies no e de anya nipa ba ko na bienu ana obi ampo benya na sem babempem so ya bedro no yenkai 2008 na ma ye wura mfi na chire no nyame mpangu ne yensa se ba omanga na so no ko ba ya nkotra ba bia nkoka se yire dada sa be wa me ana se say yakoka bibi so
better say ya adumako befi
ya duro no ya kwayanim
osi okonanim ntino
the best
ya better na say na Imano I say one of these days I'd like for you to come near Ninkomo and for things like Western Togoland any emunsem sema yeah guys also you're selfish you always end up in Ghana let's do that one too as na ya hese ebeboa Imano me dase no pay me dase no adaje pa
yo medafe radin kayo
anka ho Imano Sowate Institute of Criminology University of Cambridge and amotesa no pay yakotwe ne ba ha eja onene ebetwehwe nkomo awa ha na this one says to ask you, I'm sure if you're a man and you're listening to me you'll understand what I'm about to read out to you. It says, do you want to improve your male vitality, stress free, devoid of tiredness, renewed energy, general well-being? If you're a man, you want to improve on your male vitality, try Odyssey. Odyssey contains ginseng and other herbal components. It will help with your blood circulation, stimulation, stamina, and desire. Odyssey is purely an organic product. Improves your male vitality with no known side effects. Imported and marketed by NG Pack Ghana Limited. If you're looking for bulk purchase, call 054 712 3371. That is 054 712 3371 or 0302 549813. That is 0302 549813. If you're in Bono East and Ahafo, call SCAB SCAB or 6 Stars Pharmacy. Odyssey, the power of 2. It says Odyssey, take charge.
Peace FM. Peace FM 104.3. Good to meet